Hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday to you. Hope you all are having a great day and a wonderful week so far. Hope you guys are staying warm in this winter storm.
Oh.
Hernando is what they're calling it, right?
You know what? Since this is one time Texas isn't getting any of it, I don't think we know that there's a storm going on.
Ironically, it's a Hispanic name and Texas isn't getting any.
I just got that. Okay.
Well, welcome to Midnight Hatter Live, the weekly variety show where we talk Gundam, gaming, and Gunpla. I am your host, Stephen Bayless, aka Midnight Hatter, and joining me as always, the Blue Gamer Gundam Explainer, Adam Blue. How are you, man?
Hey, doing good, man, doing good. It's funny because I've been wanting to talk to you so much about that mecha game I played, and I remember, I had messaged you about, "Man, did you check that out?" And you were just like, "Oh, yeah, I'll get to it." Or I remember you said something, like, "Oh, I can't wait to watch it," not knowing that you had so much going on, that really, but I cannot wait to tell you about Zoll,
Well,
XOL.
so I'm glad you brought that up because that is what started tonight's topic. So XOL, Zoll, whatever you wanna call it, the game that you played
Yeah.
yesterday over on Gundam Explained, you mentioned it to me like, "Hey, you need to check out this game." I did. I watched your stream and
Oh,
I was like,
cool.
"This is freaking awesome," and it
Yeah.
it lit a passion inside of me. It got my noodle boiling, you know what I'm saying?
Nice.
And
Okay.
so I hopped back into Unity. This is what we're gonna be working on a little bit tonight, is the actual mechanics behind being a pilot and, like, boarding a mech,
Yeah.
because it's a little bit more complicated than you might imagine. Uh, we're gonna walk through some of those steps here tonight. Hopefully, we can get it working, fingers
Oh,
crossed.
yeah.
But yeah, like you said, it was kind of a crazy weekend. I was late to the Gundam Explained show last week, for which, again, I apologize. I
Ah,
probably should have just not been on the show at all because it turned out that the toilet in my basement flooded, and so, like, basically everything here to within 4 feet of my desk was just covered in dookie
dude,
water.
that's why
So
you gotta avoid Taco Bell, I'm telling you. Okay?
right. Speaking of Winter Storm Hernando, um
Oh, this is good.
Oh, man. So, it was just hilarious. It's like after you and I signed off for the night,
Ah.
on Thursday night, I got up and I started walking towards the bedroom, and I was like, "Well, my feet are wet," and it was just
And that's crazy because, like, my thought is like, "Oh, you should have told me, I coulda helped," and it's like, "Well, what could I have done?" Like, "Good luck, Steven."
moral support.
I know, it's like we were just talking for a long time, like, and then it's like, then you have all these problems, and then the guy you were just talking to can't help. It's crazy. Yeah.
I mean, it's all good. There's nothing that, a little model kit can't fix, and I'll tell you what, like,
Mm.
obviously, Monday afternoon, we finally got everything cleaned up around here, but Sunday, I, took my daughter over to, Hobby Town here locally,
Oh,
and
cool.
I did not buy any Gunpla. In fact, I didn't buy anything because I had a gift card from I think it was all the way from back from my birthday, and so I spent the humble amount that was left on the gift card. I bought my daughter a little dinosaur egg that, one of those things that you put in water and then it grows and
Oh,
hatches.
yeah.
So she's doing her whole Ian Malcolm impression. "Oh, life will find a way." She actually did tell me that the dinosaur in the egg must be a female, and I was like, "Well, how did you know? Did you go out and lift up their skirts?" But, um,
Yeah.
yeah, we're very excited for that to hatch. We got a couple of other little knickknacks for, my younger daughter. What I got for myself was actually more like product research. So I
Okay.
picked up one of these Blockies action figure model kits, and of course, they're blind boxes, right? So, it's like
Mm.
8 bucks for one of these blind boxes. I don't know for sure, but I'm 95% sure that I actually pulled the Chase figure, which is the
Wow.
Optimus Prime that comes with the axe hand, like, from the
Oh,
movie.
yeah.
But one of the things I will say about these is the articulation on them is fantastic. The build is fun. They're like cute little proportions. I've been obsessed with them since I saw some on Instagram, and I was thinking to myself, like, man,
Same.
I honestly think this is like the ideal proportions for a mecha, right? Because it's
Yeah,
not SD, it's not like
right.
a chibi mech, but it's got some weight to it. It's a little bit of chunk to him.
Exactly. I feel like the boxiness sells the idea of a robot in a way. That's a kind of a classic
Oh
thing.
yeah.
Yeah, dude, that looks great.
I'm a big fan of this, and the articulation is actually very, it's very well thought out because you have some joints where it's like basically just a hinge joint, but then they are attached to a peg, and so the peg allows you to rotate the forearm, a hu
Yeah,
360
all the way.
degrees,
Yeah.
and then, of course, the hinge joint is your elbow.
Dang.
Likewise, you've got a dual now, so you and I have talked about, like, the butterfly joint in
Yeah,
action figure arms.
right.
This is a unique one because the shoulder is actually a dual ball joint. So it's a ball joint on the torso and a ball joint on the shoulder itself.
Shoulder.
So it can
Oh.
like it's got this intense range of motion that does like a double joint forward, double joint back. Um, it's just really satisfying.
Yeah, just seeing you hold it, and I've seen these for a while now, and I'm always looking at them, and I'm like, "Man, if it wasn't Transformers, maybe I'd get it," but I don't know. I'm looking at one, it's I don't know what character that is, but I'm just looking at some other ones that look really cool, and then I see the company even has, like, a Wolverine, uh,
right.
action figure. Yeah.
And at Hobbytown, they actually had all of the Saint Seiya lines too, which,
Oh.
my daughter was like, "I want Saint Seiya," and I'm like, "I haven't that is an anime I'm not familiar with."
Yeah, I'm not either. It looks pretty interesting though. But they
Yeah,
also have I saw this actually in the mall. They do have a $40 Evangelion, and I think it's like their
the
bigger.
bigger size one, yeah.
Yeah, dude. I think he got me to get something else now.
There you go, blockies. Start collecting them now.
But
Well, and like I said, it's part of this research that I'm doing around 3D printing and creating
oh yeah.
more articulated figures. I was also looking at, like, the mega blocks, like the constructs, the
Oh
old
yeah.
Halo figures.
Big fan of those.
Yeah, yeah, so I found some 3D print files. Those guys are actually curing right now. I might have accidentally discovered the trick to making my 3D print articulated files work is that I just need to cook them under the heat gun a little bit before I start assembling them.
Oh.
Because 'cause I've always had an issue with that, like, where the joints are too tight, they create all this, like, white powder where I'm, like, grinding
You know what?
print.
That's a good point because, I see a see-through purple Megatron that look anyway. No,
That one is cool.
I
The
know that it looks so cool, but
yeah.
no, I think you bring up a good point because it could be just because of where I live in Texas, but a lot of times when I'm watching action figure reviews, most people, once they get the figure, they actually heat it up before they even start articulating it in general. So I think that's just part of the process then, um
Just softening it up a
well,
little bit.
because I wonder if that's done in the factory, like in the factory when they're putting the joints together, are they heating it up first?
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, it was very interesting. So I had this little Spartan Mark IV, and, it's a Halo figure. I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
and literally all I did was just because typically part of my process of demolding and, like, taking the supports off of 3D prints is to put them under the heat gun a little bit, and it softens the supports enough that they just fall off.
Yeah.
So I was doing that, and what was interesting is that the head popped right onto the torso, like, I didn't have to force it,
Huh.
and the thing is, I even know for a fact that my print settings were garbage because, like,
Oh.
it's a mix of resins in the pot right now. It's actually a mix of, like, the rubber-like resin and my favorite navy gray fast ABS-like resin. But, part of the thing is it's like I've never found a mix of resins that really works for articulated figures, and maybe I think the answer is heating up the resin before assembling the figure. That might be the way to
Okay.
go. So I'm actually gonna try that with a couple of other articulated figures that I've got on deck. I started doing some articulated Gundam figures in that same mold, that, like, Constructs style, like, chunky again, I'm going for something like this where it's not
Yeah.
quite SD, but a little bit blockier. I think it's gonna be pretty cool.
It
Um,
so you were saying with the resin, you had the rubber in there because I remember you've made some things to be more like that, like,
yeah.
that and that reminded me, so I don't know if I showed you this. I got this, it's Storm Arena, Ryu, just purple. I was like, "Oh, cool, see-through purple Ryu, sure." What's interesting, though, is the hand is a gummy, like,
Oh,
it and and then it goes on the joint, and I mean, I wonder if there's a benefit to that because even the chest is a gummy piece, but, it still has the plastic. I mean, I wonder if mixing, yeah, the different, like, materials
I
might be
do
a way to go.
believe that there is an advantage in mixed materials because even like one of the things that I've noticed is that clear resin prints turn out way more translucent than anything you could get from a translucent filament. I think that, like, when you're doing
Yeah.
FDM printing, even if you're using a translucent filament, typically you're gonna end up with, like, kind of hazy, cloudy like, that's gonna be the final appearance, which is fine,
Yeah.
but I think that the perfect combination of, like, a little bit of resin printing, a little bit of FDM printing. We're gonna find this out,
Oh,
come,
yeah.
like, March 12th, 15th, when hopefully my new printer comes in, um, because I am gonna be doing some of that mixed media printing, hopefully, and
Yeah.
because I think that the articulation that you get from an FDM printer is always going to be superior to what you get from a resin printer, but obviously resin is gonna give you the better details. So, again, like, it's that mixed media format where, like, some of the parts of Ryu are that rubbery
Yeah.
silicone, but other parts are the firm plastic. The combination of both creates the best of both worlds.
So, yeah, that would be cool as you're, designing these things, like, how I mean, I can only imagine what you'll end up thinking that off stream. Like, you'll come next stream and be like, "Guys, I did this," and it's interesting to think because I remember when you told me you got the other printer, but I wasn't thinking mixing them for a project, but that is a very good idea.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, each one has its own pros and cons, I think, so
yeah,
I don't
especially
think that
making,
there's
like
one size fits all solution for
right.
everything.
Yeah, you can make effect parts with the rubber type resin, and you could make replacement Gunpla parts with, the FDM, um, yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, I'm excited to get testing with that. I'm excited to, share some of the 3D models that I've been working on. So the stuff that we're gonna be working on tonight, obviously, I'm gonna I'm gonna spare you guys from looking at the final, work that I've been doing because it looks terrible. Honestly, I think that there's what I've been doing is using materials in Blender as opposed to creating textures, and I did some research, and it turns out that you can export materials as textures and then edit them. So, like, for instance, what I'm doing kind of looks like the game that you played yesterday, where it's, like, kind
Oh,
of a
yeah.
throwback game, like these early 2000s, very low poly and, like, um, solid color
Shapes yeah,
shapes and
polygons.
polygons and things like
Yeah,
that, that you don't have, like, these painted textures, right?
yeah,
Well, what you can do in Blender is you can actually export the materials as a texture and then paint
that's
on them
cool.
in Photoshop or whatever.
Material being like metal or like a matte, maybe.
So, material is kind of a confusing word in when it comes to 3D modeling because material really just stands for the material that's assigned to the model. It can be anything. It can, like, as far as texture, you actually have a dial of, like, how metallic do you want it to be? Do you want it to be, like, high specular or low specular? Do you want
Oh,
it to
yeah.
emit light or not? What color light do you want it to emit? So a material contains a lot of this data, um but the base data of every material is, do you want it to be a solid color or do you want it to be a image texture? A solid color is easy because it's just like, I have a red leg, this is my red leg. I make it more metallic, less metallic, like, what have you. But then when you get into like image textures, that's when you can do things like put chips in the paint and like battle damage and then,
Mm.
put in like decals and things like that. So I think that, and obviously, hey, I know you love real type markings.
Oh,
That is
yeah.
going to go a long way towards selling the final product, having like true texture, image textures assigned to these models. So we're going to be using some stock models tonight just to experiment with the functionality of the game, and of course, we're gonna be doing some vibe coding because I don't feel like
Nice.
doing some of this programming on the fly, but I'll explain exactly what we're doing as we go through it. Um, but yeah, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Well, so you did drop a clip
Oh,
from our stream
yeah.
before, regarding it was the Jason Clark clip, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, wait, no,
so
that was last week.
that was last
This
week.
this week was, a clip too, but I forget which one it
I feel
was.
like it had something to do with the movie as well, the Gundam
N
movie.
no, I don't think wait, there was okay, I had the 40th Mark II on Monday, the
Yes,
Robot Spirits, which awesome, and then, yeah, today was the, showing when Gundam first became real robot, like
right.
the G fighter and which so what I do is I will and I got this idea from getting the clip from when the Jason Clark thing when I do my live streams on, like, the Tuesday or Thursday, I'll usually bring something I wanna research, and then if I think I did a good job reading it and explaining it, hey, that's gonna be a video.
There you go, boom.
So join those if you guys are but also and I don't know if we leave this for tomorrow or we have time to talk about it today, but obviously you like that Zol game or
100%. I mean, the
okay,
fact that that Zol game inspired tonight's
yeah.
stream.
And like, I don't know how much you saw, but it was, like, literally Gundam, like, it was TriStars. They had a Xeon symbol pretty much.
I mean, those purple mechs looked like Cubelays.
Oh, yeah, that exactly, the shapes, yeah,
Yeah.
the spaceships, the lasers coming across in space, like, oh my
Now the gameplay, I know that you said it was probably the most Gundam-like gameplay that you've
yeah.
experienced, but when I was watching the gameplay, it did feel a little bit more like, one of those, like, first person space fighters. Like, did you ever play, like, the Lucasfilm X-Wing and TIE Fighter
Oh, yeah.
games? Oh, yeah.
No, it's interesting. I guess I can see what you're saying in terms of how it looked, but controlling it, I cannot believe they nailed it. For one, control there was no gamepad, or maybe
Yeah.
there was and I couldn't figure it out. I was using a mouse and keyboard, and just the controls made sense. It I d and I it's like this one guy, and it's made by one guy, you
That's
know?
wild.
And it's like he knew exactly how to make it feel, and that's what he doubled down on, and it feels good to play because even when you're, like, shooting the gun, it's not like you have to, like, be precise and on it. There is, like, a little bit of reticle, and there's a little bit of auto aim going on, but it adds to it looking like you're really getting into this intense battle, like, oh, man. And then, like, the beam saber slash or whatever yeah, I can't
Yeah.
wait to play it more.
Yeah, man, and that really, like I said, it got me super excited to be working on this again, and I was like, "Man, what can I bring to the table that would
Yeah,
be different?" Um,
yep,
Now, obviously, didn't have mech boarding mechanics. It's not like you, the player,
yeah.
walked up to an XOL and got on board, which that was my only complaint with it is I was like, "Well, why there's so many acronyms?" Like, "Look,
Oh,
man,
I know.
I'm not GA. You need to '08 my 95 60A. I know that you're from XON, piloting your XOL. Please stop,
Deep lore.
KI me."
Yeah, dude, it was like which I guess is pretty cool, but it was like throwing that lore at you, and
Just hammering you, yeah.
which is pretty cool, but yeah, it's funny how, like, the enemy they were against was called the, uh was it Zon? XON,
Right.
like Xeon, Zon, and then, like but the XOL was called a Exol or XOL and not a Zol or so I don't know, it was for one person, that's pretty amazing, so
Yeah. Yeah,
and
I
he's
don't
from
hate the
Japan?
player. I do not hate the player, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, like I said, if anything, you really inspired tonight's topic, and that's what we're gonna be doing
Cool.
tonight. So yeah, and obviously you guys know how this goes. Is Adam and I are gonna be bantering on top of me doing some of this 3D work that we're playing with and try to make things happen.
Yep.
Hopefully you guys learn something along the way. If not, at least it'll be entertaining.
Oh, yeah, it always is. It always is.
So hopping back into our Unity project here, is it showing on screen? It kinda looks like it's dead to me.
Yeah, it disappeared just a little bit ago from my end.
Okay, so I wonder if I need to
Hey, Dan Vince saying X-Wing was great back in the day. Heck yeah,
oh,
it was.
yeah, those games were fantastic.
I remember when I was first playing it, when my dad got it and we had a joystick, and then I remember we had to go to Home Depot later that day, and I was, like, pretending that the shopping cart at Home Depot was the X-Wing fighter, and I was going down the aisles like, "I can't wait to go home and play again." Oh, I know, but it was so hard because I didn't understand how to manage the, shields and lasers until later.
It was for
Yeah.
sure. Okay, I think that I've got it. One thing I need to do is deafen and mute this thing because I hear myself on it. Let me know if you guys hear an echo. Hopefully, I will kill it.
Yeah.
Kill it immediately. Um, cool. So let's hop back into this. Hopefully, you guys are seeing Unity on screen just like I am. This should be a familiar project because this is one that I've used in the past as kind of like a base for a lot of stuff. Um, we're using, like I said, just some free assets for the purpose of illustration. Um, let's just go ahead and do a little sample of the
Yeah.
game here. Oh, there's our man.
Oh,
Now,
look at that.
yeah, so this character controller oh, there we go. This character controller is pretty basic, you know, it's got a little WASD action. Uh, let's see, I think when I hit shift, it does a sprint, and I
That's
love the way that the camera backs out on the sprint. It's a very satisfying
yeah, I remember when you
then
were working on that one time. I
yeah,
remember, yeah, you were I forget if it was a stream or something, and you were, like, tweaking the camera.
we've got a crouch, so that's cool. I believe we've got do we have I could have sworn that I had um, like a strafing camera, kind of like your typical left trigger
Oh,
to
yeah.
aim type thing. Um, but maybe it's not working right now. So that's our sprint. Yeah.
That's cool.
Alt. Oh, so it's Alt. Okay. So this would be our like aim strafe camera, right? Where it's like the
Yeah.
character turns in the direction of the camera, we strafe left, strafe right. Your movement is a little bit more restricted. Then as soon as you let go, boom, you go return to the standard camera. So we've got a mecha in here. Um, you eagle-eyed viewers, drop in the chat if you recognize this 3D model and you recognize what this character is.
I
Um,
w I will say some of it looks like it could be prototype Double Zeta Gundam, but also completely different shape.
yeah,
But it's got
maybe
that
like if you got a double Zeta Gundam in like a vice press. Um, so basically, what we're trying to get at is we're trying to create the mechanic, and this seems like one of
yeah.
those things that's just taken for granted. Is you take the mechanic from GBO2 of just being able to board a mech, and it's one of those things that you don't think would be that difficult, but in actuality, It's surprisingly complex, and I'm gonna walk you through the steps that we had to do in order to get there.
Well, it's got a physics system.
It does. It's got physics. It's,
Oh, well, bye. Well, how far does it go down? Is it forever?
I'm pretty sure it's forever. It's like, uh, yeah, he gone. He
Wow.
gone. That's funny. So, clearly, we have some work to do.
Yeah.
Uh,
That wasn't a bit, was it?
it was a little bit of a bit.
That was pretty
Maybe
good. That
yeah.
was pretty good. 'Cause I'm like,
I
"Dude,
wanted you guys to see how
are
physics, can
I
actually
couldn't."
be
I was like, are you gonna be remaking this on stream? This gotta be a bit." That was pretty good. That was pretty good.
Um, so yeah, let me go to chat here. Let's see. Ultronymous says about to say it looks like Macross. Uh,
Mm. Oh, yeah.
communist communal stoyer says great minds think alike. Dan Vince says reminiscent of Valkyrie from Macross might be a transformer. Jared says Starscream. Dan Vince says could also be a BattleTech ALM. Tell you what, you're all right because it's actually a recolored version of Jetfire. So it is literally all of those things. It is
Wow.
a transformer. It is also from Macross, and it was used in BattleTech. So it's like it's all of them.
Wow. Hey, why not? Wait, so did you just source from, like, different games or something?
So I found the 3D model, but it didn't have textures, and so
Oh,
I just painted it in colors, and I was like, "Alright, yeah," so it is specifically it's Jetfire,
right.
but it is like, yeah, uh,
That's pretty good, man.
it's all of those things. So, in order to do what we're trying to do, there's a few things that are involved with this process. So, obviously, the way that our current game setup is, just to reorient you guys into how this works, we are using the Unity input system, which is a powerful input system. I I think it's awesome because in particular it allows mapping to every console to be much easier. So when we're looking at our player actions file here, and let me know if you guys like I tried to make this as high res on the stream as possible. If it is like not if it's not readable, let me know and, I won't dive into this much level of
It's pretty
detail.
clear. It's pretty
Okay,
clear.
cool.
Yeah.
So, when you're looking at your player action maps, this is basically a mapping of all of the inputs that go into your controller, and you can restrict this as much or as little as you want. So, the move, we have our left stick, which would be on a gamepad, or WASD, right? So if you're on a keyboard, the look is going to be either the right stick on a gamepad or the delta of the mouse. This allows you to flow seamlessly between PC and consoles. But most importantly, what I love looking at are the action buttons because jump we call it button south. So, like,
Yeah.
previously in other iterations of the Unity input system and on Unreal, you would have to go in and create a controller mapping specifically for Xbox, not just like this is the Xbox mapping. You would have to do one for Xbox One, Xbox Series S, you'd have to do one for PS4, PS5, Wii,
Wow.
like you'd have to do it for all of them. By doing it this way, button south just means the bottom button. Don't
Yep.
care if it's A, X, what is it on Xbox? It's A or Y,
ABXY,
ABXY,
but,
and
like,
then
Nintendo's opposite, it's
it's
flipped.
BAX.
Yeah, it's which, hey, if we came out with a video game console and our own controller, it would be north, south, east, west.
Yeah, like, I wouldn't even put, like, an assignment on it. I would just because honestly, a lot of it is just instinctive, like, gamers
Right.
instinctively know the up the up button, the down button, the left button, left right button. So it's like that northwest, east, south
Yeah. I think
nomenclature makes a lot more sense. So I love that about this. It makes this, super translatable. Herein lies the problem. When it comes to actually assigning actions to a player character, I have our player character selected. I have our player input actions here, over on the right side here, and then I've got our player movement script. I've got our combat script. I broke those out individually because the combat script we actually use for both our AI, for our player, we use it for our mechs. So, like, the combat script gets a lot more mileage than just your basic player script.
okay.
Um, but when you go into the player input, this is what you're going to find. You have two event managers here, one for default and one for mech. And this is where you actually assign the actions that are carried out by the player based on the inputs that are going in. So this is where it gets challenging. If I wanted you to be able to pilot a mech as well as be on ground and be like infantry in the
Mhm.
same runtime, then the mech would have to have player actions assigned to it, and the player would have to have actions assigned to it.
Yeah.
And there would be no clean way of saying,
Mhm.
turn this action map on and turn this action map off, right?
Because is the idea that you're then the engine is controlling a completely different object?
Right. Because then you're basically taking your input module and you're saying, stop using that one, use this
Yeah.
one instead. That's a dangerous game to play because at any point you might be using 2, which I've seen examples of that where it's like a vehicle like you control a player and a vehicle at the same time because both of them are active at the same time, or worst case scenario would be you control nothing because all of them get deactivated accidentally.
Hmm.
So, how we are going to handle that and how that is going to make this game even more flexible because it's going to allow us to control literally anything in the game if we want to,
Okay.
is we will reference movement scripts that are on the mech from the player. Now, what that means is on the mech itself, we have a mech controller script, which has a rigid body reference, it has an animator reference, it has the move speed, it has the turn speed. We have the pilotable script, which just literally all this does is tell us, is there somebody in it or is there not? If there's somebody in it, you can't get on. If there isn't, then you
Mm,
can. Simple as that.
okay.
However, you'll notice there's nothing about controls in here. All of that is managed from within the player controller. The player controller will, and again, when you go in here and you see mech as your events manager, all of that stuff is going to reference the active mech once it is selected and loaded up as a variable.
Okay. Okay. I think I'm becoming a game developer.
So, yeah, I mean, and honestly, it's this is one of those things where, like, I both love and hate that ChatGPT is like a total sycophant.
Right?
So this was great. Is you know me, I'm a big time prompter. I was like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I'm working on my mecha RPG, Unity 3D, rigid body character control system. I'm using the Unity input system with Unity events, blah blah." Like, I give it as much detail as possible because if you don't, you're gonna get a bad answer.
Yeah.
um,
That's for sure.
so and then I gave it my player control script to reference. And this is what ChatGPT hits me with. It goes, oh, okay, here we go. Steven, this is where your game stops being third person controller and starts being Gundam. Boarding a mech is a design moment. It's identity transfer. You're not just switching game objects, you're switching embodiments.
Wow. Wow. I dude, wait, and this is ChatGPT. Yeah, ChatGPT is real big on that.
It like, it blows so much smoke up
Yeah,
people.
I know.
But, basically, I gave it the I gave it the not just the prompts, but I gave it the scope of the work because obviously, I didn't feel like writing all the script, but I instructed it, "Hey, here's what's gonna have to happen, is
Yeah,
we can't switch action maps between the player object and the mech. So what we're gonna do instead is we're actually just going to hide the player, like, we're gonna hide the player model, and then the player model is just gonna follow the mech around,
right.
and the player model basically becomes the brain of our mech
That's pretty
while
neat.
the mech is being acted upon."
And so but are you thinking of this in 3rd person or 1st person or both?
So I've always been thinking of it in third person, but
Mhm.
after watching you play XOL, I'm curious if A, it would be possible to have a first person toggle, and B, would that be satisfying? So that I throw that out to you. What do you think?
I think it should aim for both.
Aim for both?
Um, because so Zol, whatever it's called, does that. I just
Yeah.
didn't play in 3rd person at all, but it has 3rd person.
I wonder if the third person might have been more satisfying to me.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try it. I mean, I just played the demo. I plan to drop 15 and get the whole thing. But I do want to play both because that's the thing. I like the feeling of being in the mech, like Rise from the Ashes, but I also like the 3rd person because you can see your mech.
Yeah.
There's and that kind of adds to gameplay also. Both of them have their gameplay benefits.
Yes. Um Yeah, the first person is definitely more immersive. I remember going back to Rise from the Ashes, like, on Dreamcast, like,
Yeah.
it felt like you were in a Gundam. I don't know how much of it is because XOL is in space, that it felt just kind of like a generic space fighter. If there were ground missions in XOL.
I will tell you XOL was way more easier than
Yeah,
playing Rise from the Ashes. So I think you're right in how it looked to you. It played it kinda did some auto targeting, you know?
yeah.
So,
I'm okay with that, honestly,
yeah,
if it makes the game feel less, if it
samey
makes the
like
game
any
feel
other
yeah,
yeah.
like, when you play a video game, you do kinda wanna feel like a badass. You want it to be challenging, but you don't want it to be absurdly challenging. Things like coyote time and input buffering, those are things that when you describe them, they sound like cheating, they sound like hand-holding, they sound like, "Well, why do you care? If the player runs off a cliff before they jump, then they're an idiot, they deserve to fall." And it's like,
Right.
"No, like, if you're moving at high velocity, then it doesn't feel right to, like, fall just because you missed an input by 0.35 milliseconds, you know what I mean?
No, I know what you mean. I think I think that all even like with Mario, Nintendo was thinking that when how they're designing how he moves and jumps, it's about the feel, not that it has to represent just I
100%.
went up. Yeah.
And you can still make it challenging, and that's one of the things about Super Mario Brothers, the original, is it's like, it is still a super hard game,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Mhm.
even with all of those things baked into it.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, I wanted to give you guys a look at this. This is the player control script. Honestly, what's crazy is this is something that I wrote like 3 years ago, like,
Oh.
just this is me, which is not pretty.
Okay.
Fortunately, AI added in this mech system, as a series of variables within the player input system. So we have a mech detect radius. So this is our how close do you have to be in order to board an inactive mech. Currently, it's 3F, which It's kinda big, honestly. To give you an idea, let's see. If we turn on our ally object here, because he has something attached to him. So our ally here, you see he's got these radii projected out from him. We've got our suspect radius is 20. So the ranged attack radius is 3. So 20 being the green radius, 10 being the red. Or no, no, sorry. I didn't even see this blue ring around him. Do you guys even see that? That's
Now that you're pointing it out, yeah. I didn't see that originally.
so the blue radius is how far before he suspects something. And this is part of like my complex convoluted AI system where it's like there's a distance at which you see something, but you don't acknowledge that it's a friend or foe. And so you kind of go investigate it. And then
Yeah.
there's a distance at which it's like, oh, that's a bad guy, shoot it.
Mhm.
Um, I think that's important to have
Yeah.
personally. So the blue radius is 20. The green radius is 10, which is your detection radius. 5 is our alert radius, which is that red one. Um, so that's the maximum ranged attack range. We probably need to make that a little bit longer. And then down here, our attack radius, or no, so red is the alert radius. This light blue ring is the ranged attack radius, and that's 3. So based on what you guys are seeing here, actually 3F makes a lot of sense. It's hard because obviously Unity has their own like measurement system.
Oh, yeah.
It's not quite meters, but it's metric, so to speak.
Interesting.
Um, so that's probably close enough to want to board a mech where it's like if you're within that blue ring and that blue ring touches the mech, you should be able to board that mech, right?
I wonder, like, if would it be a special button, or is it
Yes.
contextual?
Yeah, it's like there's an interact button that allows you to board, exactly like in GBO2, where it's like, what do you hit? Circle to
Well, what if you're doing something around the mech?
that's a good question.
Okay, now this is gonna go way too far, but what if you have to, like, do a combination of things, like, in a menu or on the controller that you're almost, like, activating it to be boardable, and then maybe it puts the hand down, and then you have to get on and then hold down the button as it picks you up so you don't fall off? I don't know, but
I'm
there's
glad that you're thinking like that because that is exactly the type of stuff that ChatGPT was telling me. It was like, well, you shouldn't
oh.
just make it that easy to get on.
That's kinda cool, because I guess but it depends. We could be iterating to a point where we're like, "You know what? This ends up being too cumbersome to be enjoyable." You know?
Right. I mean,
You
you
never
want
know.
it to be responsive, but also I'm not opposed to the idea of implementing an
A
element of challenge to it,
right,
right?
a risk to it, like, especially in battle,
So yeah, 3F I think is a good distance to be away from it
yeah.
before you can board.
Mhm.
The layer mask, this is another important thing. This is how you identify what's a mech and what is, I don't know, a rock or like an enemy. So for instance, um the player is on the player and allies layer. The reason that I lumped the player and allies on the same layer is so that when the enemy AI is looking for targets to shoot at, it looks on that layer of the
Okay.
hierarchy, right? Um, Additionally, the mech itself is on its own layer. So the mech layer, if an object is not on the mech layer, it's not considered a mech.
I mean, is the idea, like, if anyone could board a mech, an enemy or allied? Yeah.
Anyone can board a mech, and anyone can board any mech, which is one of the things that I put in there, and ChatGPT actually came up with some really badass, like, suggestions that was like, you know, you could you it was like, "The way that you're building this is not just suitable for mechs. Like, you could use this for other vehicles like cars and jets. You
Oh,
could
yeah.
also use it for drones if you wanted to have, like, remote control weapons that the player has access to.
Yeah.
Like, the infrastructure behind this is actually, scalable is, I guess, the
Okay.
term I would use. So,
And
we've
what would
got
you
that.
call it? Like a, well, no, go on, but I feel like there's a name for this sort of system.
Yeah, it's something flexible, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, so then our public mech pilotable is the active mech. So this right here, this variable is this is the crux of everything, honestly, because everything that the player does is going to be done to the active mech, and the active mech is only set when you're in the detection radius of that mech and you hit the button, you board it.
Okay.
And then, of course, you have a private Boolean is piloting, true or false. This is just going to disable the character mesh. It's going to make the player disappear, and it's going to set the camera target from the player to the mech, which is that's another thing that was pretty cool. Is like, do you want to have like different cameras, like a camera for the player and a camera for the mech? And I was like, well,
Mm.
can't we just set the target of the camera from the player to the mech? So we're gonna get this really cool transition of when you board, the camera will pan and zoom like
That is cool.
excuse me.
Making it cinematic.
Exactly. Now, one of the things that obviously you mentioned and ChatGPT brought up was like, hey, you should have like a boarding animation, like opening the cockpit hatch and stuff like that. I don't have
Yeah.
that yet, but we will get there, rest assured. Um, so this stuff is all the typical player stuff. Every time the game starts, we get all of our player variables. Every frame, we check if the player's grounded. We check all of like the rotation variables. Are you strafing? If you're not strafing, then you can turn side to side. If you are strafing, you're locked forward. Get movement input, locomotion, jump, crouch, aim, sprint. This is our formula for detecting whether or not you're grounded. This is our rotation script. This is our lock rotation script. So when you're strafing, prevents you from turning.
Hmm.
Um, This, I put this in because I knew it was coming. Toggle action map. So this is switching action maps between the default action map, the mecha action map, and the UI. So obviously we're going to have to
Mhm.
eventually create a UI action map of like up and down to select menu items and what have
Yeah.
you. Uh, get camera forward. That's just like to detect a variable, like which direction is the camera, which direction is camera right. This helps us determine camera relative movement. uh, this is where we have all of our aiming, sprinting, stop sprinting. Now we get into what ChatGPT gave me. So
Okay.
we have this public void board mech. We might end up changing this just to be like a generic interact feature and then have the what's inside it be a sub method, so to speak, where it's like if you're within range of anything, you want to be able to hit the interact button. If it's like if it's a door, you want to open the door. If it's a crate, you want to be able to loot the crate. If you're within range of a mech, then you board the mech. Right now, because this is the only thing we're doing, it's all in here. But like you said earlier about contextual, inputs,
Mhm.
excuse me, about contextual inputs, that's where we would bake this in, is because we would want this to all be mapped to one button on the controller. And maybe we set it to like you have to hold the button to board the mech the way that you do in GPO2.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
And so if not piloting a mech and the mech is empty, like you don't have a pilot in it currently, then we enter the mech. Else, we exit the mech. So then we have our whole script here for entering the mech. This sets our active mech, the one that we talked about earlier. This is the thing that tells the player which mech we're piloting, equal to the mech that we just connected with. We set our piloting variable to true. We do all of our onboarding stuff, which means switching the action map, which means updating the camera target, um, and then we disable the player body. Exit mech obviously does all the opposite of that, where it's like, and this is the cool thing is it actually came up with this idea where it set an exit point, which is 2 feet to the right of the mech. So when you're done piloting your Gundam, you hit the button to get out, and it will spawn the character like 2 feet to the right of the.
Yeah, that makes sense because normally, it doesn't, like, obscure the view, you know?
Now we could do something a little bit more sophisticated with this where we do like a sample, because obviously like this could be used as an exploit. Like the way it is now, could you imagine you're trying to play through this level and you have to get through this wall, and what you do is you just board a mech and then you hug the wall with the mech and then you hit disembark. It's going to spawn your
Right.
character on the other side of the wall. This is one of those things that like a Zelda developer would leave in. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
what I wanna do is try to sample a random location somewhere around the mech that would otherwise be accessible.
Interesting. Or what if you're holding down the eject button and it creates one of those, like, grenade target things in a way where you're actually then you
Like,
let go?
project yourself?
Well, I wasn't thinking that, it could just be the but that's not a bad idea, actually, to kinda make the loading and exiting more interesting gameplay mechanic, actually.
Yeah, honestly, so I'm glad you mentioned that because if you look at the list I have in the action maps here, there's some pretty cool stuff in here that I haven't implemented yet. So, like, move, look, jump, those are pretty standard. The melee attack, it creates
Yeah.
a combo. There's a 3-hit combo that you can do. Interact, obviously, that's pretty straightforward. The dodge button. So, this one is actually it does a number of things because it does a quick dash when you're not locked on, but when you're in strafe mode, it's your roll to the side, roll to the right, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of like your Z targeting, like
Yep.
Legend of Zelda style. I'm locked on, I'm gonna dodge left and right.
I
So
like
this
that.
is this is one of those contextual actions. Aim, again, that one's one of those, it's like the left trigger, standard, bog standard gameplay. Shield, that's your block ability. Again, that's probably more relevant when you're in that locked on Legend of Zelda style fighting. Fire is your right trigger, boom, your gun. The hook, I do want to implement a grappling hook similar to the
Oh, yeah.
one from Lost Planet.
Yeah, totally.
So, the way I'm imagining it is like you said, what if the way you get out of your mech is basically initiating the hook script and it like
Yeah, that is pretty cool, especially too, like, if you're on the field and you need to grapple hook to specific parts of your mech to maybe repair, you know?
I mean, maybe that makes it, maybe you have to hook onto a mech before you can board it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like, it maybe drops something and then you, like, can hook up to it and then yeah, there's something
Exactly.
there.
Excuse me.
Uh,
Uh, and then of course, obviously, we have like our options inventory. Uh, this is something that I haven't talked about much, but like the D-pad controls for controlling your wingmen,
oh, yeah.
uh, that's all built in here too. So I do have a lot of like features built into this that are not, like, directly tied to the mechs, but I think are gonna make the mech combat a lot more fun.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so that's about where we're at. Like I said, there's a few more things that we have to implement.
Oh, man, you need to get your whiskey.
No kidding. I need grandpa's cough medicine here. So literally the only thing that we really have to do, and we'll test this real quick, hopefully if we have some time. Two, we're gonna go into our default here. We're gonna grab our interact method. We're gonna get our player and drop it into the object tab here. And then the function we want is obviously going to be board the mech, right? I don't see it in here. Basic player movement. Well, this isn't good.
No.
I wonder if
And
it's because it's not
it's
a public function.
I was about to say, this is a cliffhanger. 'Cause I have to go.
Well, we will catch up with it next week, if not
Good.
sooner. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you, Adam, as always.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm gonna go get something to drink. Hopefully, you guys do
Yeah.
the same.
Yeah, I know, man,
And
like
definitely tune in for the Gundam Explained show tomorrow. We will be
yeah,
back.
that's right.
I will be hydrated, and we will have a little bit more fun. Again, thank you guys so much. Hope you guys learned something from this, and we will catch up with you next time.
Yep. See y'all.
Cheers.